Have you ever walked into a room and no one said anything but you felt it? The brief pause in conversation, the subtle second look, the quiet respect in the way younger people move aside. But here's the strange part. No one compliments older men the way they compliment young boys. No one says, "You're glowing." No one says, "You're attractive." Instead, they say, "You look strong. You look dignified. You've aged well." And most men misunderstand this because society trained you to believe that attractiveness belongs to youth, that once your hair turns gray, once your face carries lines, once your body slows down, your prime is over. But here's the truth nobody talks about. There is a type of attractiveness that only comes after storms, after heartbreak, after responsibility, after surviving things that would have broken weaker men. And today, we are talking about that. This video is about the signs you are a good-looking old man, not in a childish way, not in a desperate way, but in a powerful, magnetic, deeply masculine way. And if you are over 50, 60, even 70, this might change the way you see yourself forever. So, before we begin, if you respect wisdom, if you believe age is power, if you are proud of becoming stronger with time, then like this video, subscribe to the channel, because here we don't glorify youth. We honor evolution. Now let's talk about the signs. 1. Your presence feels calm, not loud. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how some men don't need to raise their voice, yet the entire room adjusts when they enter? No dramatic entrance, no forced laughter, no desperate attempt to be seen. They just walk in steady, unhurried, and something shifts. That is not coincidence. That is presence. Young men often try to impress. They speak louder than necessary. They crack jokes quickly. They check who is watching them. Their energy is restless, almost asking for approval. But a good-looking older man, he doesn't ask for attention. He carries control. When you enter a room, you don't scan for validation. You observe, you assess. You sit comfortably without trying to dominate the space. And strangely, that restraint becomes power. Because loudness is usually insecurity wearing confidence as a costume. Calmness, on the other hand, is earned. Think about real life. At a family gathering, everyone might be talking over each other. But when you begin to speak slowly, clearly, people lower their volume. Not because you demanded it, but because your energy commands it. At a workplace meeting, younger men may compete to sound smart. But when you speak with measured words drawn from experience, the room listens differently. There's weight behind your sentences. There's history behind your tone. And women notice this deeply. Not the noise, not the flash, but the steadiness. A calm, older man feels safe. His movements aren't aggressive. His eyes don't wander nervously. His posture is grounded. He doesn't fidget. He doesn't rush. And safety is one of the most attractive qualities a man can carry. In a world full of emotional chaos where tempers explode online, egos clash in public, and everyone wants to be the loudest, stability becomes rare. And rarity is magnetic. Your calmness says something without words. I have survived storms. I don't panic easily. I don't crumble under pressure. That silent message travels deeper than appearance ever could. When a crisis happens, people look toward the calmest man in the room. Not the loudest, not the youngest, the calmest. And if that man is you, that is attractiveness at its highest level. Because true masculinity is not about dominating space. It's about controlling yourself. It's about having nothing to prove. It's about knowing who you are so deeply that you don't need to perform it. So if you've reached a stage in life where you don't feel the urge to impress, if you can sit quietly without feeling invisible, if your presence makes others breathe easier, understand this clearly. That calm presence is not boring. It is powerful. It is rare. And it is incredibly attractive in a way that loud youth can never replicate. Because chaos is common. But a man who is steady like a mountain, he is unforgettable. 2. Your face carries character, not just skin. Look at your face carefully. Not with criticism, not with comparison, but with honesty. Those lines near your eyes, those marks on your forehead, that slight heaviness around your jaw. Most people call them signs of aging, but they are not signs of decline. They are proof of survival. Wrinkles are not flaws. They are evidence. Every line on your face tells a story that no filter can recreate. That crease between your eyebrows? It may have formed during years of responsibility when you were calculating bills, making decisions, carrying burdens silently so your family could sleep peacefully. Those faint lines near your eyes? They were carved by both laughter and pain, by nights you smiled through exhaustion and mornings you woke up despite feeling broken. A young face can be smooth, but smooth does not mean strong. A mature face carries something youth cannot manufacture: depth. Think about this. When a young man speaks, people may hear his words. But when a seasoned man speaks, people study his face. They read his expressions. They sense his pauses. They feel that his silence carries more weight than another man's speech. Because your face is not just skin anymore. It is history. Your eyes don't look curious about life. They look familiar with it. They've seen betrayal. They've seen loyalty. They've seen loss. They've seen success. And that changes how they look at the world. There's a difference between eyes that have watched movies about struggle and eyes that have actually struggled. When you look at someone, there is a steadiness, a grounded awareness. You are not easily impressed, not easily shocked, not easily fooled. And that is powerful. Women especially sense this subconsciously. A mature face that reflects strength, resilience, and emotional endurance feels safer than a perfectly smooth face that has never carried responsibility. Character reshapes your features. The way your jaw tightens when you speak about something important. The way your eyebrows lower when you focus. The way your smile is subtle but meaningful, not exaggerated for attention. All of this creates presence. And here is something deeper. Your face now reflects acceptance. You are not trying to compete with 2 5-year-olds. You are not chasing trends. You are not pretending to be someone you're not. That authenticity shows. It softens certain expressions. It strengthens others. And authenticity is magnetic. In a world obsessed with anti-aging creams, cosmetic procedures, and artificial perfection, a face that honestly shows time becomes rare. And rare is attractive. Because real beauty is not about tight skin. It's about tested spirit. When someone looks at you and senses that you've carried responsibility without collapsing, that you've endured pain without becoming bitter, that you've aged without losing dignity, that is not ordinary attractiveness. That is powerful masculinity. So if people listen more carefully when you speak, if your expressions feel layered, not shallow, if your eyes look like they've lived, not just existed, understand this. You are attractive in a way youth cannot compete with. Because youth fades, but character deepens, and character is the highest form of beauty. 3. You don't chase attention, it comes to you. This is where everything changes. There was a time in your life when you wanted to be noticed. Maybe you tried harder, dressed sharper, spoke louder, worked longer, not because you were insecure, but because you were building your place in the world. But now, something shifted. You don't feel that hunger to prove yourself anymore. You don't enter a room thinking, how do I impress them? You enter thinking, let me observe. And that quiet shift is powerful. You don't show off your achievements. You don't casually drop your success into conversations just to elevate yourself. You don't exaggerate stories to sound bigger than you are. You've reached a point where you know what you've done. And that internal certainty removes the need for external applause. And here's the strange truth. That's exactly when people start noticing you more. Because desperation has a scent. When someone is chasing attention, people feel it. The forced laughter, the unnecessary dominance in conversations, the constant interruption, the subtle need to be validated. It drains the room. But when a man is self-sufficient, when he is comfortable not being the center of attention, when he is okay sitting quietly without feeling invisible, that creates gravity. Think about real life. In a group discussion, younger men may debate aggressively, trying to win the argument. But you wait, you listen. And when you finally speak, it's precise. measured, calm, and suddenly the room shifts toward you, not because you demanded it, but because your restraint created curiosity. If younger people ask for your advice, that's not random. They sense stability. If conversations naturally turn toward you, that's not luck. People instinctively trust experience over noise. If others respect your silence, if they don't rush to fill it when you pause, that's not coincidence. That's earned presence. You've stopped competing unnecessarily. You don't argue over small matters. You don't feel threatened by younger energy. You don't need to dominate to feel masculine. That inner security is extremely attractive because most men never reach it. Most keep chasing attention even in old age, trying to relive youth, trying to stay relevant, trying to be admired. But you've understood something deeper. Validation is temporary. Self-respect is permanent. And when a man respects himself, others feel it. There's something magnetic about someone who doesn't need you. Not cold, not distant, just complete. When you speak, it's intentional. When you laugh, it's genuine. When you compliment, it's sincere, not strategic. That authenticity pulls people closer because self-sufficiency is rare, and rare things attract attention without effort. So if you've reached a stage where you don't chase approval, if you no longer feel the urge to impress, if you can walk away from conversations without feeling the need to win, understand this deeply. Attention coming to you naturally is not luck. It is the reward for growth. It is the result of years of building yourself quietly. It is earned attractiveness. And that kind of attractiveness, it doesn't fade with age. It strengthens with it. 4. You dress simple, but it looks powerful. Look closely at how you dress today compared to how you dressed in your 20s. Back then, maybe it was about standing out. Brighter colors, louder styles, following whatever trend was popular at the time. There was a silent message behind it. Notice me. But now, you don't dress to be noticed. You dress to reflect who you are. A well-fitted shirt, clean, polished shoes, neat grooming. Nothing extreme. Nothing screaming for attention. And yet, when you walk into a room, it looks intentional. That's the difference. Young boys chase fashion. Good-looking older men understand elegance, and elegance is quiet power. When your clothes fit properly, not too tight, not too loose, it shows discipline. It shows that you care about yourself, not in a desperate way, not in a flashy way, but in a dignified way. There's something incredibly attractive about a man who looks put together without trying too hard, because effort without noise signals self-respect. Think about it in real life. At a gathering, one man may wear the loudest outfit in the room, branded logos everywhere, trendy sneakers, attention-grabbing accessories. And then there's you. Neutral tones, maybe a crisp white or light blue shirt, a simple watch, shoes that are clean and maintained, hair trimmed, beard shaped or shaved properly. No chaos, just clarity. And strangely, eyes rest longer on you because simplicity, when done right, radiates control. Your walk matters too. You don't rush. You don't slouch. Your shoulders are steady. Your movements are economical. Every step looks deliberate. That combination, simple clothing and grounded movement, creates mature charm. And here's something deeper. When a man reaches a certain age and still takes care of how he presents himself, it sends a powerful message. I respect myself enough to show up properly. That hits differently. It tells the world you haven't given up. You haven't become careless. You haven't allowed age to turn into neglect. You are aging, but with intention. And intention is attractive. You don't need expensive brands. You don't need flashy watches. You don't need to look 25 again. You just need coherence. When your grooming is clean, your clothes are balanced, and your posture is strong, people sense alignment. They sense that the outer man matches the inner discipline. That alignment creates trust, and trust is magnetic. There's also emotional depth here. When you dress simply yet powerfully, you are silently accepting your stage in life. You're not competing with youth. You're not copying trends designed for someone half your age. You are mastering your era, and that authenticity feels solid. Because nothing is more uncomfortable than watching an older man trying too hard to look young. But watching an older man embrace his maturity with style, that's unforgettable. So if your simplicity looks strong, if your grooming feels intentional, if your presence elevates basic clothing into something dignified, understand this clearly. That is not ordinary fashion. That is mature charm. And mature charm doesn't beg for attention. It commands respect quietly. 5. Your voice has weight. Listen carefully to your own voice the next time you speak. Not the words, the tone, the pace, the pauses. A powerful older man does not speak fast. He speaks clearly. There is no rush in him, no nervous need to fill silence, no pressure to impress with speed or volume. His sentences are measured. His breathing is steady. His tone carries calm authority. And people feel that immediately. In youth, many men speak quickly. They overlap others. They talk louder to appear confident. They rush through sentences as if afraid someone might interrupt or challenge them. Speed often hides insecurity. But when you have lived through real pressure, financial struggles, family responsibilities, losses, victories, your nervous system changes. You learn that panic solves nothing. You learn that silence can be stronger than shouting. That wisdom reshapes your voice. When you speak now, there is steadiness. Imagine a family discussion where opinions clash, voices rise, emotions flare. Then you begin to speak not louder, but slower. And something happens. The volume in the room drops. Not because you demanded it, but because your tone carries control. Control is magnetic. At work, younger colleagues may present ideas with excitement and urgency. But when you share your perspective, it doesn't sound like speculation. It sounds like experience. You don't just talk about theory. You talk about what you've seen. And experience gives your voice gravity. Gravity attracts. Think about this deeply. People rarely interrupt a man who sounds certain. They may disagree. They may debate. But they wait for him to finish. Because confidence that comes from lived reality feels different from confidence that comes from ego. Your pauses matter too. You don't rush to answer every question immediately. Sometimes you think. Sometimes you let silence sit for a second. That pause communicates depth. It says, I consider before I respond. And in a world addicted to instant reactions, that restraint is powerful. There's also emotion inside your voice now. Not dramatic emotion, but textured emotion. When you speak about hardship, there's subtle weight. When you speak about joy, there's warmth. When you give advice, there's protection in your tone. Women especially sense this. A steady male voice signals safety. It signals stability. It signals that when chaos happens, you won't crumble or explode. That feeling of security is deeply attractive. And here's the extreme truth. Your voice reflects your battles. If you faced storms and survived, your tone carries that survival. It becomes less reactive, less defensive, more grounded. You are no longer speaking to prove your worth. You are speaking from it. That difference is enormous. So, if people don't interrupt you easily, if others lean in slightly when you talk, if your words seem to settle into the room instead of bouncing around it, understand this. Your voice has weight, not because it is loud, but because it is lived. And a lived voice, steady, controlled, grounded, is one of the most powerful signs of a good-looking older man. Because true attractiveness is not just seen, sometimes it is heard. 6. You are comfortable being alone. This one is rare, and that's exactly why it's powerful. There was a time in your life when being alone may have felt heavy. Silence felt uncomfortable. An empty room felt like something was missing. You wanted noise. You wanted movement. You wanted distraction. But now, you can sit quietly and feel steady. You can wake up early, make your tea or coffee, sit near a window, and simply think without reaching for your phone, without needing someone to talk to. And you don't feel lonely. You feel complete. That level of self-containment is magnetic. Because most people are terrified of their own thoughts. They fill every moment with noise, television, social media, constant conversations, not because they enjoy it, but because they cannot sit with themselves. But when a man becomes comfortable being alone, something profound has happened inside him. He has made peace with himself. You don't cling to people anymore. You don't chase company just to avoid silence. If someone wants to stay in your life, they are welcome. If they leave, you don't collapse. That emotional independence is extremely attractive. Think about it deeply. When you walk alone in a park, hands relaxed, posture steady, you don't look abandoned. You look grounded. When you sit quietly at a gathering and simply observe instead of forcing yourself into every conversation, you don't look invisible. You look controlled. And control is powerful. There is strength in not needing constant validation, in not checking who texted you, in not feeling restless when plans get canceled. You have built an inner world strong enough to keep you company. That's not common. Most men attach their identity to external noise work titles, social circles, constant activity. When those disappear, they feel empty. But you've learned to enjoy your own presence. You can think deeply without fear, reflect on your past without drowning in regret, plan your future without anxiety controlling you. That kind of emotional maturity radiates. Women sense it, other men respect it, younger people feel it. Because a man who does not need approval cannot be manipulated easily. He cannot be controlled by praise. He cannot be shaken by criticism, and that makes him powerful. But here's the deeper layer. Being comfortable alone does not mean being cold. It means being whole. You can love deeply, but not desperately. You can care, but not cling. You can connect, but not lose yourself. That balance is beautiful. And when power is controlled, when independence is calm instead of arrogant, it becomes attractive in a way that youth cannot replicate. Because youth often confuses attention with connection, but maturity understands that connection is strongest when it is chosen, not needed. So if you can sit in silence without discomfort, if you can walk alone without feeling small, if you don't panic at the idea of solitude, understand this clearly. You are not isolated. You are self-sufficient. And self-sufficiency, when rooted in peace rather than pride, is one of the most magnetic qualities a good-looking older man can possess. Because a man who is complete alone chooses others from strength, not from emptiness. And that choice carries undeniable power. 7. Younger people respect you without you demanding it. This one is powerful and very rare, because most people confuse respect with fear. They think if they speak loudly, act aggressively, or constantly remind others of their status, they will be respected. But real respect doesn't come from force. It comes from presence. You don't shout for respect. You don't say, "Do you know who I am?" You don't threaten to prove your authority. And yet, something interesting happens. Younger people naturally listen when you speak. They adjust their tone around you. They greet you properly. They wait for you to finish your sentence. They value your opinion even when they don't fully agree. That is not accidental. That is silent authority. Think about a real-life situation. At a family gathering, there may be loud laughter, playful arguments, endless talking. But when you clear your throat slightly or begin to speak calmly, the energy shifts. Not dramatically, not theatrically, subtly. People look toward you because they sense weight behind your words. At a workplace, younger colleagues may joke freely among themselves, but when you walk in, they straighten a little. They don't feel intimidated, they feel guided. That difference is everything. You are not feared. You are respected. And respect that is given voluntarily is far more powerful than respect that is demanded. Here's the deeper layer. Younger people today are exposed to endless noise. Social media personalities shouting opinions, influencers chasing attention, leaders arguing publicly. So when they encounter a man who is calm, composed, and self-assured without aggression, it stands out. Your silence speaks. Your eye contact holds steady. Your posture communicates stability. You don't invade space. You don't overreact. You don't try to control the room. And that restraint creates authority. Because authority without insecurity feels safe. And safety earns respect. You've lived through challenges they haven't faced yet. You've made decisions under pressure. You've taken responsibility for consequences. That experience shapes your energy. Energy cannot be faked. It's felt. When you give advice, it doesn't sound theoretical. It sounds tested. When you disagree, you don't attack. You explain. When you correct someone, it doesn't feel humiliating. It feels instructive. That balance is attractive. Because true attractiveness in a mature man is not about sharp jawlines or perfect skin. It's about controlled power. It's about a presence that makes others feel both safe and accountable at the same time. And here's something even deeper. You don't need constant validation from younger people. You don't compete with them. You don't try to prove you're still better. That absence of insecurity makes them respect you more. Because when a man does not seek superiority, he naturally radiates it. So if people move slightly when you move, if conversations quiet subtly when you speak, if younger people seek your opinion without you forcing it, understand this clearly. That silent authority is earned. It comes from years of discipline, years of self-control, years of surviving without bitterness. And that kind of energy, it is deeply attractive. Because true masculinity isn't loud, it's steady. And steady energy commands respect without ever demanding it. 8. You have emotional control. This one separates boys from men more than anything else. You don't explode easily anymore. There was a time when small insults felt big, when disagreements turned into arguments, when ego reacted before wisdom had a chance to speak. But life has trained you. Now you pause. You don't argue over small things. You don't raise your voice just to win. You don't let every comment shake your peace. And that emotional control, it makes you rare. In today's world, reactions are instant. People get offended in seconds. Tempers flare over opinions. Relationships break over misunderstandings that could have been solved with patience. Emotional chaos has become normal, but when you walk into that chaos and remain steady, you stand out immediately. Think about a real situation. Someone younger challenges your opinion publicly. Maybe they speak sharply. Maybe they try to provoke you. The younger version of you might have responded instantly, louder, stronger, determined to dominate. But now, you look at them calmly. You listen. You respond slowly, if you respond at all. Sometimes you simply smile and let it go. That restraint is power. Because true strength is not about overpowering others. It's about mastering yourself. When you've lived long enough, you understand something deeply. Not every battle deserves your energy. You've learned what matters and what doesn't. You've seen how temporary anger can cause permanent damage. You've watched relationships break because someone couldn't control their tongue for 5 seconds. So now, you choose differently. You protect your peace. And that stability is incredibly attractive. Women feel safe around a man who doesn't lose control. Children feel secure. Younger men feel guided rather than threatened. Because emotional control signals maturity. It says, I have faced storms before, this is nothing. And here's the deeper emotional hook. Emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you feel deeply, but you choose your response wisely. You've experienced betrayal, disappointment, stress. You've carried responsibility silently. You've endured moments where anger would have been easy, but instead of becoming bitter, you became balanced. That transformation reshapes your presence. When someone insults you and you don't react, it unsettles them. When someone tries to provoke you and you stay calm, it shifts the power dynamic instantly. Because a man who cannot be controlled emotionally cannot be controlled at all. That's rare. And rare men are unforgettable. People may forget loud personalities. They may forget the ones who argued endlessly. But they remember the man who stayed composed under pressure. They remember the one who chose dignity over drama. So if you no longer react to every criticism, if you no longer waste energy on small conflicts, if your silence has become stronger than your anger, understand this. That is not weakness. That is mastery. And emotional mastery is one of the strongest signs you are a good-looking older man. Because true attractiveness is not about how loudly you can react. It's about how powerfully you can remain calm. And calm strength leaves a lasting impression. that noise never can. 9. You accept your age, and that makes you timeless. This is the most powerful sign of all. You are not fighting your age anymore. You are not in competition with time. You are not standing in front of the mirror wishing for yesterday's face. You are not trying to dress, talk, or behave like a 5-year-old just to feel relevant. You are embracing your chapter, and that changes everything. There's a quiet dignity in a man who accepts his age fully. You are not trying to look 25. You are mastering 60, or healthiest, or whatever stage you are living in right now. And that mastery is rare. Look around carefully. Many men grow older, but they don't grow wiser. They resist reality. They chase youth desperately. They dye away every gray hair, not because they enjoy it, but because they fear what gray represents. They joke about being still young with a hint of insecurity. They compete with younger men as if aging is a defeat. But when you accept your age, something powerful happens. Your energy settles. There's no internal conflict anymore. You walk into a room not trying to impress the youngest person there, but comfortable in your own timeline. And that comfort radiates authenticity. Authenticity is magnetic because it is honest. When you smile, it's not forced. When you speak, it's not rehearsed. When you dress, it matches your stage in life instead of fighting it. You don't hide your gray hair in shame, you wear it like experience. You don't resent your slower pace, you move with intention. You don't envy youth, you understand it. And here's the deeper truth. Time humbles every man eventually, but the men who accept it with grace become timeless. Think about someone you truly admire, an older man whose presence feels solid. It's rarely because he looks young. It's because he looks aligned. His outer appearance matches his inner maturity. There's no pretending, and that alignment creates power. When a man stops chasing youth, he starts embodying wisdom. He stops asking, "Do I still look attractive?" and starts living, "I am comfortable in who I've become." That shift is profound, because insecurity ages you faster than wrinkles ever could. But self-acceptance? It softens your face, it steadies your posture, it deepens your voice. It makes you calm. When you fully embrace your age, you stop wasting energy trying to rewind time. That energy becomes presence. It becomes depth. It becomes quiet strength. And that strength feels beautiful. You are no longer trying to be admired for youth. You are respected for experience. You are not temporary. You are rooted. So, if you've reached a point where you no longer resent birthdays, if you see gray hair as proof of survival, if you feel proud of the chapters you've lived instead of ashamed of the years past, understand this deeply. You are not aging out of attractiveness. You are aging into authenticity. And authenticity is the highest form of attractiveness a man can carry. Because youth fades, but a man who accepts himself fully, he becomes timeless. As we conclude, if you saw yourself in these signs, stop doubting your worth. Society may worship youth loudly, but life respects maturity quietly. And quiet respect lasts longer than loud attention. If this message resonated with you, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below, "Aging with Power." Because remember this, a good-looking old man is not defined by smooth skin. He is defined by steady strength, calm confidence, and a presence that cannot be replaced. And that only time can build.